Happy Tuesday to you, everybody. JEDIOSHI's update today. What's going on? We're having a pretty decent day today. It's green, so that's kind of nice for us. Let's dig in on some details, though. Starting with equities, as we do, they are entirely correlated, as we've seen. We had a nice gap up overnight. Futures just ran from about the London Open at 2 a.m., if you notice that. Really, if you zoom in, it really just took off at 2. Gapped up at close. Gapped up at open here, and this is the low time frame 5-minute chart. Looking for resolution here. Kind of going sideways, but nothing too crazy. It is a positive day across the board for risk assets. So equities are up. The crypto space is up. This is S&P on the daily. If you'll notice that we called this out, but we did off the top to the bottom. We did double tap the 618. We came back here and kissed the 236. Not surprising, we bounced there, and now we're moving back up. What's interesting is if you look at the Dow Jones fractal from 1929 overlay here on the chart. Again, my grand theory is that we do blow off on market. We do have a blow off event on equities. Bitcoin gets a retrace, alt separate, and then we get to play into this rise here, right? So that's the grand theory. We'll see if it plays out, but if it does, we should start moving up here pretty soon on equities, and Bitcoin gets a retrace, right? So if we follow the fractal, you can see we did consolidate at the top in 1929. This is almost 100 years ago, right? Funny how these things match. But yeah, if you zoom out, the fractal matches. It's a 20-year match. It's pretty incredible, actually. So again, consolidation chop at the top. We did have a drop here prior to the blow off in 1929. No different than what we're seeing today. So again, grand theory is equities blow off. Bitcoin gets a retrace. They might get an all-time high. I don't know. But right now I'm trading as if we get a retrace, alts get some sort of separation, or at least move up nicely with Bitcoin, and we get a nice tradable top. Probably into the summertime, maybe April, May, maybe into the summer. And that's when things could get really dicey. So that was S&P, that's Dow Jones. Let's look at Bitcoin. Overnight, actually this one, just the daily chart. Yesterday we were looking at a couple things. One was a potential for a larger ABC. It looks like for now we're not getting that. It looks like for now that was at least the near-term bottom. With it was on the 4-hour RSI that kind of gave us a signal. 4-hour RSI did show divergence, did show bullishness, and it did indicate that there was strength on this consolidation. So again, I was thinking 50-50, maybe 60-40 leaning down. We didn't get it. We're moving up here. Hey, good to see, right? Being positioned for anything is the way to go. One thing I'm looking at on the daily, I want to show you guys this, is on this RSI track. What was interesting is we did violate this trend line. But again, they get violated a lot, right? We know that. But I do lean on them for kind of a break and break signal, more of a long term, especially on the daily. But a break and break signal would signal a short or at least a correction period here. So we popped down, we did close this candle, and then we popped back up. All right, so let's zoom in on this area, because I want to show you kind of the levels that I'm watching. And then, kind of a bigger picture on what I'm thinking as far as kind of how to measure this out, right? So that's and I'm going to switch this down to the 1 hour so we can get some resolution. But that's my my fib from top to the correction, which appears to be local bottom now. We'll see. But notice how from top to bottom correction, we came off the lows. We jumped here last night. That was at 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Had a nice pounce. That was when last night we were like, hey, hope this holds till the morning. At 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. Central, we got another push. into the morning session, into about 5 a.m. Central. So it was nice to get that overnight push. We're about 15 to 1600 up on the day for Bitcoin. But as far as fibs go, and I shared with you some other levels in the Telegram, but as far as fibs go, looking at the 702 to break, to break, and then for us to continue up here. So right now we're hanging out around the 618, continuing to track equities in the short term movements. Not surprising, but you know, I am looking at, let me zoom out, let me go back to, let's do the 4 hours so we can get some resolution, but I want to show you kind of how I'm looking at this now. So assuming that this now from here to here would be what I would call wave 4 on a wave 5 ABC up. So what I did this morning, I hadn't shared this with you, so we'll do it together. Let's see. First of all, let's assume, I'm going to do 1 through 5. So let's assume that that's 1, that's 2, this is 3, we're down for 4, and now we're going up somewhere for 5. Okay, so what I was doing was I was taking my price measurement tool, measuring off the bottom to the top of 1, that's 19%. Let's call it 20%. I don't know if I tagged the bottom there, but let's call that 20%. So that's wave 1 was 20% off the bottom, $6,530 off the bottom. Wave 2 to 3, assuming this is 3, is 26%. So I'm expecting a wave 5 somewhere between 20 to 25%. So where does that put us? That's really what all I was doing, was measuring these distances. So there's almost 20% at 50,000. So 50,000 is 20%, 27% is 53,000. If I zoom out though, remember these old levels, kind of, I would draw this in a box, right? So I'm drawing this now as, call this support. But if we can break through this area here at 45.6, then the next obvious local of resistance is about 52K. So I think wave 5 could come up here, the end of maybe our A leg could come up here to, you know, between 50 and maybe as high as 52 for maybe a wick high there. But let's call it here, that's 20 to 26. Let's kind of shoot it here at 23, 24, maybe 51 and change, right? So now what I'm looking for, maybe expecting to see, is once we break through some levels, the 702 on this correction for the wave 4 702, we can start breaking up, we can start moving up. Obviously we need equities to play with us, so we do need equities to move up, in my opinion. So we start breaking some fib levels here, we break out over the wave 3. I think that, look at this, guys. The remember, this wave 3 really stopped in this area, right? So we did kind of bounce up into the top here of this this box I would draw. But you know, you have these wicks here, and so we did come into it, got rejected off this level, came back, found some support at say 41 to 42, didn't go as low as 40 to 41, didn't come down to 39, not yet anyways, but we found strength and we jumped. So we'll see if we can, you know, 2 levels for me, 702 within this correction, and then we have to break through this top to continue up. So you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5. I think 5 can come up as high as this area. You know, and also there's symmetry on ABC. I'm sorry, on 1 through 5. You know, and for me, let me zoom out. But for me, I would expect this to be our A in an ABC. Where B comes down to, I'm not sure. You know, is it this floor level here? Is it this level? Is it this bottom here? You know, there are a lot of levels you can draw, but somewhere in here, I think A comes down, or we put in A around this level. B might come down here, and then a C, again, I'm expecting 55 to 58K for the top of that. And again, that is the 702 in the retrace, or that is the 618 to the 702 in the retrace of the range from 69 to 33. So something like that. Also, what I'm looking for is an alt separation at A. I think that's really my dream scenario, is if we get an A, we get alts to separate, and then we start seeing some breakdowns, and we're going to start looking a lot closer. I know lately I've been I've done a lot of like waves and ABCs and levels and that sort of thing, but I'm going to start dialing in on my system and my signal, which is a lot more RSI and trendline breaks, because I would say even yesterday I was looking at, wave levels and doing waves and such. And like I said yesterday, there's 40 ways you can draw these. And so I wasn't as relying on the 4-hour RSI, and that really was our signal that the RSI was building, and we break this level and we go up, right? So we're going to look at lower time frame breaks and breaks, like we even had one here on the top of 3 area. So when we get up to here, or if we get up to here, again, I'll be looking and signaling to you guys lower hour RSI breaks and breaks, for a topping event. Also want to see alt separate too, at least something. They may not though, and if they don't, and we get breakdown signals, I'm okay with that, because I would like to, take some short-term action here, if possible. We'll see when we get up here what it looks like, but this may be an area where I might take some short-term action and play a pullback here for C, for the C leg. We may not get separation until we start the C leg. I think that's pretty possible in my book. So we'll see. On the lower time frame, this is the total 3 overlay. So red is Bitcoin and blue is total 3. Total 3 is all of the altcoins except for Bitcoin and Ethereum. So this is a really good proxy for the alt market. We haven't seen much separation. Now, there's some short-term separation. Basically, what we're seeing is alts hold up. And this is, again, 5-minute, right? So it's not super reliable, but it is a good look at what's going on in the near term and what's happened in the last, say, 12, 24 hours. So really, this is a look from that bottom of what I would call the bottom of wave 4. And if we're moving up, and this is our wave 5 pattern, we have not seen, and I'll scrunch it down so I can get the 0 to normalize at 0 from that bottom area. But we have not seen, we really haven't seen alts decouple. Not yet. And we're anticipating that. As Bitcoin's kind of fading slightly on the lower time frame, we're seeing total 3 follow it. But what we want to see is on a move up, we want to see alts separate, especially I think they might happen at the top. I promised you guys we'd look at this on a more macro picture, so let's do that today. And I don't want to make this video too long. I realize it's already 13 minutes, but this is the 4-hour chart now. It always normalizes to the start of the chart, right? So this would be 0, 0, and then everything else is just a % off that move. So, and they measure separately. I have them on 2 axes, right? So I want to look at, I was looking this morning at this A leg in this ABC up from the summer correction, right? So the story here, and again, this is 4-hour. I don't need to necessarily normalize this because these track so well, or I don't need to tie these together at 0, but I can. Let's do that. Okay, so the summer bottom in late July and the subsequent move up into early September. Look, alts trailed Bitcoin. They did catch up a little bit here, mid-range, but then they didn't quite separate till the top. So we may get this kind of event is what I'm talking about for this leg. Maybe. No way to know for sure going into it. You just know, but you know it when you see it. All right, so if we get up to here and alts have separated, at this point, and this is a measurement from the bottom here, but total 3 was up 116%, while Bitcoin was up 76%. So you had that gap, maybe 30 to 40% gap, call it, at the top. And that gap continued. Alts did fall, but you still had a relative gap measured from the bottom again. We had a relative gap here, and that gap stayed consistent, into late September. And then on the rise, let's look at that. On the rise out of the September bottom, to the ultimate top here at 69K, alts moved up with Bitcoin. They didn't really track that great, but they did. There was a wee bit of separation, nothing to write home about here. But then what we saw on the way down, and this is what was interesting, and this was our fake out breakout in December, Christmas Eve type breakout. We did see a really healthy alt separation here. So, let's kind of measure that, but I may have to go to 1 hour here to get, I'm basically trying to put these both at 0. So I'm trying to get that 0 here. So let's get, looking for December 23rd. If I can get it. I guess we can call 0 here, but basically, Bitcoin was from this point down 10%. Alts were actually up. Bitcoin say was down 9%. Alts were actually up 4%. So there was a gap. So that's a 13% gap. So look for something, 10% or more at least to really signal. But that's how you can do it, guys. On your charts, you can, you just line chart total 3, overlay Bitcoin on top, and take a look at different time frames and such. So again, I would say that was a look at the relative movement in alts from off of the summer bottom, right? So look, there's obviously some separation there on alts. It's moved up, kind of recombined, and then we had another period of separation here in the fake out breakout last Christmas. And lower time frame, as you match these two together, they're just tracking. So we haven't seen separation yet, either way, really. But let's go back and look at kind of the macro picture here. The alts, really, and I can get data back on the daily back to early or middle of 17, right? So this is a look at total 3 versus Bitcoin in 2017 into the top. Basically, Bitcoin led, alts lagged, and then alts continued to rally as Bitcoin fell. So that's what you hear a lot about, right? Obviously, as we know. Alts were moving with Bitcoin up. Bitcoin faded, alts took off. That was the flip. That's the flip right there. That's alt season, if you will. But don't forget, alts were running with Bitcoin into alt season. The market had momentum. And that's why I think when we don't have momentum, maybe we need to rebuild that momentum to push into a top or into an alt season. So that's why I say it. When I say it, what I mean is this feels mid-cycle. It doesn't feel like an explosive end of cycle. But again, the market, I realize the market's different. I realize, we're not 2017 anymore, right? So, I get that. The look at this time period, alts. So alts through this period, again, this is measured back to the beginning of this data at 0%. So, we have, I'd say, in general, moving together, we have a little period of alt separation here. So again, don't forget, this is the time period that we're measuring the fractal from. And we've already gone through this. Actually, yeah, we're looking for this. Okay. Or I'm sorry, we're looking for this on Bitcoin, which is interesting. And I haven't studied that super hard, but interesting is that Bitcoin went up, alts faded. So I think it's a good fractal for Bitcoin, but we're seeing a little bit different dynamic between the alts right now as they're tracking together on this time period. So I have to keep an eye on that. It's interesting. What happened there? So, alts faded, Bitcoin was flat, fell off this ledge, went down to the bottom here. Everything was down significantly. Alts down 80-90% or more. And then Bitcoin ran alone, if you normalize it to here. Actually, it's back to here, but that's the thing about these charts. When you overlay and you put them on two axes, you have to kind of dial it in to get the overlay. So what I always do is on the left-hand side, I take it to 0 there so that both are, so right now, if I'm looking at this data, now both are pinned at 0, and I can look at relative performance from that point. to get an overlay. Otherwise, it starts to give you different messages, right? But what you're doing is you're looking back at your zero line. So, I thought you guys would find that interesting. It's not definitive in my mind, but the story again from 2017 is Bitcoin led. Market had a lot of momentum into a strong push into a top. Alts pushed further as Bitcoin faded. Liquidity moved from Bitcoin to the alts. We'll see if that happens again here, or what kind of signal we get. This was 2021 run. We all remember that Bitcoin was leading almost alone. Things were moving up, but it wasn't as violent. When we got to the top here at 64K and fell, after, and we did a really hard study on this, but after this fall and everything dropped from the top, but when we bounced, alts did much better than Bitcoin, right? And then we fell into the summer. The summer bounce, alts did better than Bitcoin at the top when they disconnected. Fell back in September, again, moved up at the top here at 69K. A couple periods of separation here on the fake out breakout in Christmas time. But then now, again, on the lowest time frame, we're just looking for some signal in separation. What's interesting, I think, and I do the 5 minute because it's easier to see what's going on now. But yeah, here are alts up, and Bitcoin's fading. So we'll see. To me, this is a lot more lead lag stuff. It's like here. Alts caught up. I think Bitcoin could catch up easily, and they could continue to track until you get. This is massive amounts of liquidity moving from one asset class to the other, right? So until you see that, these just track. Okay, so a couple other things, and then I'll let you go. It's 22 minutes now. Glimmer did have a nice jump off the bottom. Glimmer got down to below 450. This was a low of 448. Good, decent volume coming in too. Break up in the RSI. I like the volume. Will I buy some more here? I don't know. I'm gonna keep being patient. I don't know. Something's telling me to keep being patient. Yeah, I missed sub 450. But then again, I was thinking that maybe our ABC wasn't over yet. So I didn't pull the trigger on the next tranche of Glimmer. So, but again, I'm not too concerned about it. I just want to accumulate down here in these levels. So yeah, sub 450 would have been nice. Obviously in hindsight, right? It's easy to say that in hindsight. But, we could keep drifting lower. I know there's a tokenomics issue. I also think that might be priced in. Because a market with known information tends to price in all known future events. So, we'll have to see. But I still do like this, and just want to point out that we did have a new low on Glimmer at 450. What else? I think that's all I had for you today. Tomorrow live stream. Bravo will not be with us, but we'll do a live stream anyways and see who wants to join, and if there's anything special you guys want to look at or talk about, we can just kind of do it together. But we'll still do our live stream together tomorrow. But one last look at Bitcoin, and then we are out of here. So again, my idea on wave path 1 through 5, ABC, bigger picture, and then if this is bottom, how I would do it is by taking percentages and also correlating with support resistance levels. So looking for that confluence, right? And those are just points in the chart that tend to make sense. So it would make sense that Bitcoin runs to here. It would make sense that, this and that happens, that sort of thing. And that's all I had for you today, guys. Thanks for sticking with it on this video. Please like the video. Please share JEDIOSHI. Follow me on Twitter. Send a DM if you'd like access to our Telegram. It's a community of people working to read charts, think for ourselves, become successful traders in any market. So with that, we'll see you tomorrow on the live stream. Thanks again.